what would you say in general would be your parenting philosophy to those who've never read your books or heard the TED Talk? What would you explain to them?
I think being kind and listening, and to me, I always think of the child as doing the best they can right now. You know, whether that's a baby or a toddler or a teenager, that, you know, they are doing the best that they can rather than, you know, and I think punishment's useless. I think we need to work together to come up with, you know, and so I think guiding them gently would be my philosophy on the whole, you know, disciplined child rearing, you know, but connecting with your child, because if you've got good connections, it doesn't matter, you know, and we're building those with our little babies and our toddlers, those strong connections, and they are going to, you know, I think roots and wings, I guess, would be the
I like that.
You know, roots, strong, deep roots of connection, and then letting them go when they're ready to let go, because and letting them do anything that they think they're capable of within reason. I mean, with my teenagers, it'd be, is it morally safe? Is it, you know, is it life-threatening or is it morally threatening?
Yeah.
It's something we should not be doing. But they will probably experiment with all sorts of things too. One of my kids went off to Africa at 21 and, you know, got a job as a travel leader and got shipped out with typhoid and malaria. You know, he's a beautiful man. He was my wildest toddler, I suppose, other than the youngest one. But he was very full-on, very strong-willed, very active physically, didn't sleep all night till he was over 4. And he's rung me a couple of weeks ago, what are you doing, blah, blah, and he's taking me to Paris.
Oh, I love him.
That's all that. Just meet him.
Oh, that's so cute. So how old is he now?
43.
Oh, my.
Wait a while.
Yeah,
He's got 2 kids.
We can't even go. I love it. I just spent this morning setting up what we have at She Births, a Soul Mama Circle. So like a cross between a women's group and a mother's group, sort of women's circle, mother's group, where we don't just talk about sleep and poo and our babies, and we certainly don't give advice or judge. We just sit in this space of holding circle for all of us to go through our journey. And we talk about our identity and we talk about relationships and self-care and the matrescence process. And I cried when I was having in the circle because my son's on the verge of leaving home, and it's the biggest grief. Yeah, it's the biggest grief I've ever experienced in my life.
And you feel that umbilical cord just stretching, don't you? 2 of my kids have gone overseas at 21. You know, one went to do the snow season in Canada, but she was the 4th child by then. So I wasn't so, you know, but when this kid decided to just go off to Africa and work as a travel leader, you know, he'd been for a trip and then came back and said, you know, I'm going to get a job with them, organise this, got a one-way ticket. Mum, can you sell my car so that I've got some more money?
Wow.
And wild as, you know, and you just go, and he'd ring me from things like, he rang me one day from Namibia and, you know, there was a phone on a pole and he said, can you ring me back? I ring back and an African man says, hello? And I said, hello, it's Jonathan's mum here. Can you see him? He's a tall white man with fair hair. Seen him? I said, can you see him now? No, I don't see him anymore. And the next day, I opened the Age and martial law in Namibia.
Oh, my God.
And I went, oh, boy. And, you know, that umbilical cord just stretches. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from Nairobi or somewhere like that. And he says, I said, how did you get out? Oh, you get $20 out before they get their guns out. You're right.
Wow.
And then the Tutsis and the Hutus were, you know, they had their war when he was being a travel leader. And my mum in New Zealand said something. I said, oh, there's been, you know, some truck with tourists going to, because he always wanted, I homeschooled him and he always wanted to see the gorillas in the mist. So he was going there with a group of tourists and he was the travel leader. And there was a truck in front of them where the driver was shot. And Mum and hostages were taken. And my mother said, oh, that was on our news this morning because the driver was a New Zealander. I went, oh, Jonathan's got a New Zealand passport because that's where he was born. And I just went, oh, I thought she'd lost the plot, but she definitely hadn't. So, you know, all these adventures that this kid had And it's hard when they leave and you sort of just want to know that they're safe. And you also have these feelings like, have I done enough? Do you have those? It's hard.
I feel like, have I been present enough
Yes.
in the good times? Have I really got it in my soul, in my heart, in my mind, in my memory? Have I got it? Is it enough to take us forward? And it's funny because when people ask me, what would you change looking back on your parenting? I wouldn't change anything other than taking more photos and videos, just because I don't trust that I can remember it all the good times. Yeah. And I would say probably more holidays. Like I feel like our most precious connected times and sacred were, holidays away from particularly the Western world, in third world places as well. Yeah, so they were so special.
Yeah, we didn't manage that because we didn't have enough money,
No, you had 5,
You had to do the holidays, and if you had to journey back to New Zealand to see family, which you did, I mean, that was all your money gone.
All the money gone, that's right.
It was really hard. So, but I think the kids don't need big things.
No, they don't.
They can have memories out of the funniest little things. Like my kids have one of jumping off the shed roof onto mattresses, and just normal stuff.
It's so good. I love it. Especially when you've got siblings to have fun with as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, but even the neighbours' kids, other kids, they'd all muck in together anyway because I've got quite big age gaps. The first 2 were very close. Then I had, a 4.5-year gap. Then a 3-year gap, then an 8-year gap. So,
wow,
quite big gaps. But it's interesting that they all connect up and they're all friends with each other, and which is nice, I think, because they
awesome.
are all very different personalities.
Of course. Someone asked me, is it worth it? Like, what's this payoff of being like a conscious or responsive and available parent? And I suppose you and I are kind of sharing those stories now. It's the quality of relationships that you have and that love, right, that continues on, even though the pain is terrible in letting them go. What would you say is the payoff of being a more available?
And also through those teenage years, I think that's when it shows up big for you. My youngest one, who was probably the one sent to teach me the most, and he rang up at about 17, he'd been at a friend's place and they'd all been drinking and it was midnight and can you come and pick us up? And I was in my pyjamas and I got breathalyzed on the way in my pyjamas and, looking dishevelled with pink hair isn't really a good look when you get pulled over to blow into the whistle. And I said, look, I haven't been drinking, but the kids I'm picking up are. Because I said to him, look, tell everybody else to stay there and I'll drive them all home. I don't want anyone getting in the car. No, and they waited and, I bought them kebabs on the way home because I thought, well, thank God they've actually done that. But I said to the cops, can I bring them to you? I'm picking up kids. Can I bring them to you and you tell me how much they've had to drink? They weren't there when I was on the way back. I don't know where they'd gone, but... it was
that's classic.
Past them. But, those sort of things that kids will come to you if there's a tough time, if they're dealing with something, it might be a relationship breakup, whatever. And I think that's the important part.
Yeah, that they feel safe. And I think that safe to share. And I don't think it's ever going to be 100%. Like we're at that point now with my son just turning 17 and it's only, I would say, in the last 3 months that he's actually not sharing everything.
Oh no, they don't share everything.
No.
If they're in strife, they'll come to, they know that they can come back to you.
They know that you can come. They can come. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the depth of love is profound. And like you said, your youngest one was there to be your greatest teacher. That's our philosophy, in She Births and in Buddhism and in yoga, in the Vedic scripts, it's about the child being our teacher, being our guru.
They've all taught me lots. But, this one I sort of think, I'm thinking, you've got older kids and you've gone through it and you think, holy crap, what are you doing this for? Haven't you learned from them? But they've each got their own journey.
Yeah.
And different things. Like one of mine I think he got into accounting or something like that, but he, went off to uni for about 3 or 4 days and then came home in the morning and said he'd missed the bus. And I went, you haven't, have you? And he went, you know what, Mum? I don't even want to do this. They're all wankers and they all stay inside and I don't want to wear a suit and work inside.
I love him.
Okay, and he was the one that ended up going off to Africa. I said, all right, so what are you going to do? And my husband, who'd done an MBA as an adult, saying, mate, you've got this opportunity. He says, Dad, are you happy? And my husband couldn't even answer that because he was so full of responsibility and, study and work and all that sort of thing. And at that period of time, I don't think he could even think about being happy. It would have been almost, and he's not that kind of person. Like, he's very serious kind of person, whereas I'm more the dang spontaneous kind of person. And so, anyway, this kid he was the one that went to Africa, came back with his typhoid and malaria, healed from that, went to work in hospitality and decided that he'd want to learn about fish. So he went to work for a fish place, wholesaler, and they paid him all his cash and overtime. So he worked 6 days a week, or his overtime in cash, 6 days a week, went to the stock exchange and learned how to invest money, bought himself an investment apartment, and then he ended up going off and learning landscaping. He now has a massive landscaping business with over 25 employees, and he sponsors refugees. So he's, got a good heart, but he's done something completely different that he never needed to go to university for.
Oh my God, I just needed to hear that story as well.
His son doesn't want to go to university, does he?
He oscillates. Like, I think he could easily be, someone who never, like, if I don't kick him in, like after a gap year, I reckon he could easily be someone that doesn't, for sure. And that's, it's okay too. It feels more scary, as a parent coming from
the process, isn't it?
From a family of educators and doctors. And I mean, I didn't enjoy most of my university, but I still want Leroy to have I think it's a real privilege to have those years where you're not thrown out into the world having to make money and fend for yourself. But I think if it's not right for him, it's not right for him.
Support him. But that's really hard. And I've talked to a few people that I know who are, educated psychologists or whatever, and you would probably know them too if I mentioned their names, but I mean, it's their story, that have, been really worried about these kids who've gone off travelling for 3, 4, 5 years and their mates are all finishing university and these kids are still travelling the world. And, Sarah did that too, my fourth one. She just travelled the world and came back, got a job with Flight Centre, ended up managing a flight centre at 24 and, just completely fits that corporate thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's so good. I mean, I know there's probably lots of families listening to this, mums in particular, who've got little ones in their arms, but it's not that far away. All these things we're talking about, you just look into the future 16 summers. That's really all you have with your kids at home.
It's not many.
It's not many in the whole thing. And then you're in this wild world where they're in the wild world and it's a whole different game. But I suppose we should backtrack and let's maybe talk a little bit, your 3 sort of topics that you talk about the most, I suppose, are breastfeeding and sleeping. Would you say in toddler training? Is that part of the sort of your sort of those sort of? And you're also very big into nutrition and also a baby massage consultant, right? So
I trained as a massage instructor. I actually had a sick woman who taught me to massage my babies, and then years later, I had the opportunity to do infant massage instructor training, and I went, I will do that.
That's so great. I love being in India and seeing the mums massage their kids along their legs. They sit there with their legs straight out and they just like run their hands down their kids' legs and arms, and it's quite efficient.
Quite vigorous.
Yeah, vigorous. It's not like a gentle little strokey tickles or anything like that. It's strong. It's bringing them into the body and balancing the doshas. It's a powerful thing. But hey, how about we start talking about breastfeeding, because it's still, I just don't understand why it still keeps coming up into the press. For me, it's just like the most normal, natural thing. Why wouldn't we do it in public? Why wouldn't you feed for a few years? I don't get it. But is it still an issue, do you think, in Australia?
Look, it's really weird because there'll be times when women will say, you know, I've had no problems. There'll be lots of women that say I'll have no problems. But a little while ago, I put something up on Facebook just a few weeks ago, and I had over 400 responses. Some of the mums were being supportive, but there were things like a mum in a change room, and she was watching her toddler as she was breastfeeding her baby, and another woman marched in and pulled the curtain shut and said, my husband's coming in. He doesn't want to see that. You know, there are some really awful things going on.
That's so
weird.
Where
mothers are, you know, shamed, and you go, what is wrong? And I guess every time that hits the press, there will be a new mum sitting at home thinking, I can't go out because I couldn't face that criticism. So we've actually got a hashtag we've started on the Booby Bickies Instagram page, and it's hashtag where are you feeding today, without a question mark. And we've got 4,000 mums have taken photos of themselves in all sorts of places. You know, there's a farmer sitting on a horse, and that got a bit of flack because her husband was actually holding the bridle, but that wasn't shown in the photo, but he just passed the baby up to her to give it a feed so she could then carry on doing whatever she was doing. There's someone sitting in the back of a wheat harvester. There's mums at the hairdressers. There's mums in so many places. And that's how it should be, that women can just breastfeed. It's natural. It's, you know, once you get breastfeeding going, that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. So what's the hashtag?
Hashtag where are you feeding today?
Where are you feeding today, without a question mark. I love it. I love it. Now, getting started, and there's so many issues. And like you said, support, encouragement, those are, I think, really important elements that we need to initiate breastfeeding and get into good habits and patterns and so on. But a lot of mums these days, I suppose, they tend to, not find that support, or they seem to stop earlier than they thought they would. Or are you seeing that as well? Are you helping people establish? Are you helping people continue? What's the sort of role that you...
Both. I think the thing is that I always say to the pregnant women, learn the stop sign, because you're going to be in hospital and somebody's going to, you know, and it's about efficiency. You know, there's not enough staff, so someone's going to come in, if you have a hospital bed, they're going to come and grab you by the boob and shove this baby on, and you're going to go, you know, what? So you just won't
be able to speak.
Right up and say, please, I'd like to try myself, because babies know how to do this.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, sometimes women are so out of it after a birth because they've had so much intervention that they actually do need someone to help them get that baby going, which is really sad. And the babies take a while too, because they've been quite medicated. But I think, you know, it sort of stems from this fear around birth, and then all the people saying to them, like they did to my daughter, but what if you can't breastfeed, which sows the seeds in that mind about what if I can't.
Yeah.
And, you know, there will be some women with some medical issues. They might have retained placenta. They might have PCOS. They might have diabetes. Some of these things that can make breastfeeding in the beginning quite challenging. But, you know, just one of my clients is actually a doctor, but had a dreadful experience with her first baby, had breast hyperplasia. And that's, you know, very small breasts, widely spaced, which I've got anyway, but no, these are different shaped breasts. They're quite tubular, often one's bigger than the other, you know, and it's very limited ductal tissue in these particular breasts. It's not a common thing. But we discussed, and we had plans, and we had backup plans, and this mother spent 2 weeks doing skin to skin. She got donor milk ready, because I said, I'm happy to do a call out if you're happy to take responsibility for the screening. She had donor milk and donors ready to go. She had a supply line and supplemented her baby with donor milk. And then by about 6 months, she didn't use the supply line at night time, the little nursing supplementer, which is a little tube, you know, you wear the bottle around your neck, put the little tube next to your boob, and the baby sucks that supplement. So they're not getting used to a bottle sucking.
It's like this thin little piece of plastic that comes through. Yeah.
And the milk comes through. So they're sucking at the nipple, but they're getting milk from you and from the other. So the mother's still getting stimulation of her breasts. And then by about 6 months, this mother stopped using the supply line at night and just breastfed overnight. And by about 8 months, she visited me, and her baby's going, ready for a boob. Yeah. Like her baby had never had a bottle. And then, you know, the baby's nearly 2, and she texted me and said, how do I stop it? grabbing my boob out of my shirt wherever we are. So she had a fully breastfed baby.
Amazing. Amazing.
I think some of these things can be, people perhaps they're not reaching out for support, and there are lots of people calling themselves lactation nurses or breastfeeding consultants, and they actually aren't. The IBCLC is the International Board Certified qualification, which is the gold standard, and we have to do so much background work, which most of the time you don't really need for an average breastfeeding mother. But if there's a complication, it's really good to know this, the physiology and techniques to help mothers. How are you going to help that baby who isn't sucking well or, can't manage? Because every baby and every mum are different. Mums have different sized boobs. They've had different experiences seeing other people. And I think a lot of people have that first baby and they prepare really, really well for birth, but they often don't think beyond that.
Yeah. Well, we spend a lot of time focusing on that first feed and that baby-led attachment and that crawl, because I know it really sets up a great feed and encouraging to feed as much as the baby desires, going forward, particularly in those first while. It's so important.
Well, there's books out there, there's advice out there to give babies bottles of formula. I mean, there are health professionals talking about giving babies formula at bedtime, and you go, well, that's not going to help your breast milk, and it's not going to help your baby, and they're doing it from birth. And you go, the studies show that if you breastfeed at that feed, your baby's getting night milk, which is rich in melatonin, you're going to get more sleep.
Yeah, amazing.
And the baby's microbiome is going to be healthy too.
Exactly. There are a lot of questions in our community at the moment about weaning. And so I thought I might just talk about that for a little bit. So can I jump into how do you wean a toddler? Yeah, night weaning toddlers. Katie says, Stephanie's like, how to comfort while co-sleeping, and can you night wean a 2-year-old while you're giving that comfort? How do you wean a baby that's allergic to cow's milk? How do you wean a baby that's never taken a bottle? Goodness me, can you jump into
young enough in that first year, I would say don't do the night weaning. They may still need those night feeds through the first year. And there are so many reasons for that, because your baby becomes mobile, your baby is starting to get teeth, so it's burning more calories, it might need a night feed. The night milk is very rich in tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin. So you're developing serotonin receptors in the baby's gut. And this is helping do that. And the research shows that not just the tryptophan in the breast milk that converts to serotonin, but it helps develop, it's got other components that help develop those serotonin receptors, which are really important for us throughout life. If you have depression or anxiety, people give you serotonin, or they tell you to get more from various sources. So, this is important to set your baby up. I know when babies feed a lot at night, it can be really hard, and we can look at what perhaps is waking this baby, is what I'd say. Look at what's going on for this baby. Are they getting molars? Are they really badly teething? A teething baby can have their head elevated a bit in the cot or in the bed, or co-sleeping, sleep them on your arm, so that there's less pressure around the head and jaw area. It can be a food sensitivity, chemicals like salicylates, which are very high in things like berries, grapes, tomatoes, citrus. They can accumulate over the day. And they can take about 48 hours to get out of your baby's system, and they can impact the baby's nervous system, making them more wakeful.
Agitated and wakeful.
And wakeful. And it's dose-related. It's not an actual allergy. It just means, cut right back, eliminate for about a week, 5 days, go on a low salicylate diet, and then gradually introduce some things back in and see where your tipping point is for your child and their age. But I'd say if you're making any changes with a baby, with a toddler, gradually with love is the mantra.
Yeah.
Just take it slowly. Where would you like to be, and how can you cut those things back? If you want them to go into their own bed at night, maybe start with a mattress on the floor, settle them there, and go back to your own bed. And then, gradually they will start to sleep longer, and particularly without the boob in their face, they tend to. And if you've got a 2-year-old, you can start talking to them. There's that beautiful book, Nurses When the Sun Shines, by a couple of Canadian mums that they might like to read to their child. Their child might tell them they don't like that story because it's about little girls having cuddles overnight instead of having booby. And my daughter, I actually had a box of them delivered to me, and my daughter, you've got a parcel, can I open it up? And I said, I can remember you saying this to me. You can have booby when the sun shines. But you can't have it now. You can have it.
I love that. I didn't know about that book. It sounds fantastic. Tell us the name of it again, because it started to go a bit funny. Oh, it's gone weird. Internet's gone weird.
Nurses When the Sun Shines.
Boobies When the Sun Shines.
Nurses When the Sun Shines.
Nurses When the Sun Shines.
Yeah, because it's Canadian and they don't necessarily say boobies, they say nurses.
Nurses.
An American woman, I heard the other day, an American woman, was offered, she visited a friend in Australia with a baby and she said, would you like to nurse my baby? She declined because she thought it meant breastfeed.
Breastfeed. Oh my God. I love that. I love it.